Hey everybody, here is session 4 for our writer's notebook lesson. This is mainly about narrator's point of view and maintaining consistency when you're writing a personal narrative. As you know from our anchor chart that personal narratives always are personal, that's the key term there, and you always need to make sure you're writing from a first person point of view. So this lesson is really going to focus in on identifying if you're really talking in first person or if you're telling the story of someone else's. So remember, first person narrators, they always stay within their own control. It's their story, it's nobody else's story. So the lesson is telling the story from a narrator's point of view, and the teaching point is in order to write a powerful narrative, something that's impactful, something that's effective, you need to live and relive in that moment that you're writing about. So something that I like to think of this as is like an instant replay for television. I know the Cubs just won the World Series. We saw so many instant replays, and the commentators would constantly commentate on what happened, or they would narrate what happened as they saw it. It must maintain a first-person voice, so it has to be you seeing, hearing, feeling everything that's there. So basically you want to describe what you heard, what you felt, and what you saw. And so what I'd like you to do now is I want you to take a moment, and I'd actually like you to read a excerpt that is in your mentor text right now, and just go ahead and pause this video. It says excerpt from session number 4, and then I want you to come back. So hopefully you've paused it, and I want you to write down what you observed. So again, I'm hoping that you paused it. This was like the third time I wanted you to pause it. Pausing the video, and after you read that first excerpt, I'm hoping that you noticed some things that I did. I noticed that it was in first person. Something that they talked about was my dad did this, and they were the ones he had lost. So even though this is first person, this narrator is not describing things that they saw, that they held, that they did. They are describing things about their dad. Yes, it's still their dad. Yes, it's still technically first person, but this is not an example of personal narrative, because you'll see in the next excerpt, the way that they change their voice is how you make that a personal narrative. So go ahead and pause this, and once you're pausing it, you are looking at the second example, and then write down your observations from there. Okay, so you should have paused it, and you're coming back to see what I wrote down. Hopefully you wrote down your own observations. It's still in first person. We still see I, but this time we see things like I heard him mutter, or I heard him rustling around the room. Okay, so by saying these things and having the dad speak, I know that I didn't write that one down, but having the dad speak from dialogue shows that the narrator heard the father saying these things. That's the difference. So today, what I want you to work on, I want you to go ahead, you can do one of two things. You can choose a story from something that you wrote before, or you can create a new story from, perhaps you want to use one of your first time, last time moments from that meaningful moment story, or the map. Maybe you want to write a different story. Either way, I'm going to go back to my softball story. So this is a really great example. Right here, this is supposed to be the time that I broke my nose, right? Why do I need to talk about the pitcher, Andrea, was doing an excellent job? What I should change that to is I saw that Andrea was doing an excellent job pitching. That is more of my perception versus, and look at that, Mrs. Sherwood is spelling the wrong type of pitcher. There we go. The pitcher, I saw the pitcher doing a great job. She was full of confidence. I could see that, okay? But when I say it like this, I am not showing my readers what I'm seeing. Does that make sense? We can move on to, let's see. But then when I have things like, I held up my glove as blood poured from my head and the pressure was unbearable. Nevertheless, my face nearly fell to the floor when I saw, here I go, when I saw the ball rolling toward the dugout fence. She caused the fall that led to me dropping the ball, an error that I never have made before. Okay, so even as I go back to revise and edit, I'm noticing different things and wording that I can revise for my word choice in order to make this a more true and powerful personal narrative. So again, if you would rather just go back into an old one and rewrite it so that it's a better copy, please go ahead and do that. Otherwise, go ahead and write a new story. I did start a new story. Don't forget to plan, of course. This is about when I became a golden apple. So I titled it When I Became Golden. I've got my plot here, and I'm planning my 5 elements here. But I'm starting to write this from my perspective. Okay? So make sure that that's what you're practicing today. Again, practicing personal voice. So rather than, my dad did this, I saw my dad do this. I heard my dad mutter. Using word choice is definitely going to help you make this narrative a lot more believable, a lot more effective, and a lot more powerful. And that's your lesson for today. Thanks so much and have a great one.